a podcast all about ways to bring enchantment and healing into your life. I am your host, Stacey Leigh. Join me and my co-host, Andy Andrews, as we journey into the hearts and minds and discuss topics related to spirituality, the supernatural, esoteric knowledge, mysticism, psychology, and so much more. Thank you for tuning in. Hello, everyone. So, big change, solar eclipse, craziness, and our original guest got called.
Oh, you're going in and out. You're muted. So yeah, guys, we had to switch it up. I guess that Wes he has a pretty important job, so they had some things going on today, and they have decided that they needed to use him. Oh, she's gone. She must be starting over. So, guys, we got really somebody, good friend of mine and stuff, a good acquaintance, and love the man to death. So we're going to bring him on. And there she is. You back with us? See there, the solar eclipse, technical difficulty. So can you hear me? I don't know what's up. She's like, she's like totally out of it. But anyway, so nope, nothing. So what we're gonna do is, see, you're unmuted on my end. I don't know if you can hear me, but everybody knows this gentleman. If you're anybody in the paranormal that has anything to do with the paranormal, we're going to bring him on. And let's everybody say hi to Mr. Greg O'Brien.
Hello.
So I'm sure that everybody knows Greg. He is I guess you would call yourself what, the host, the paranormal host?
Yep, paranormal host down at Fort Mifflin. Yep.
Fort Mifflin. And I haven't had an opportunity yet to, every time it comes time to go, something happens. So, but yeah, this year, that's on my to-do list this year. Stacey as well. She hasn't been to Fort Mifflin yet, but, how did the solar eclipse do today there?
It was just a different feeling. I mean, it was just, I went down there and it was just, usually you feel the energy so strong when you're there, and we got down there and it was just very still and just didn't have the energy that it normally does. So I was very surprised at the change in the energy level today.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way it was with Gettysburg today.
You guys now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Me.
Yes.
That was so weird. I have no idea what happened with that.
But yes, at Gettysburg, the same way. Like, when the color started changing and you knew the eclipse was starting, I seen people lining up at the square there, kind of around in a half circle, watching, looking up, and even the people next door that owned the inn on Lincoln Square, they came over and we were talking about how it just seemed like, I don't know, like you're saying, it was just, no pun intended, but just dead. I mean, the energy was just like,
it was like the animals stopped and everything, like around here. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we made the comment. Somebody made the comment about, we didn't even see any airplanes or anything. Usually they have, I don't know what they're doing in town, but right outside of Gettysburg, been a lot of helicopters flying overhead. And I believe what's going on is, I know they opened up a new mechanic, like they have, his wife was going to work for me and then decided not to. But they must be doing like a lot of mechanics on helicopters. So they get I want to go down there and try to sneak a ride up because they fly over top the battlefield. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Stacey, back with us, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm assuming you did the intro and everything, so and brought him on stage. So we're good. I'm so glad I have you.
I'm glad I was able to get on.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you again. Did you thank him? I don't know what you guys said.
I
I couldn't hear
did, yes.
anything. Yes.
Yep.
Thank him. And yeah, this is awesome. I love to pick your brain.
Well, pick away.
So what did you ask? Were you guys just talking about the eclipse? What did I miss?
Well, I asked just about the energy and how it felt at the fort, and telling everybody he is the paranormal host at Fort Mifflin.
Okay.
And that was about it.
Okay. So if anybody has any questions for Greg, please put them in the comments. We will ask them. And I guess the first thing I want to ask, because Greg, I know you. We've done lots of events together. Your energy is just freaking amazing.
Thank you.
And your hugs are even better. So I know I'm like, I want one of your hugs. And you're like super tall. I don't know if you guys know how tall he is. But how did you get involved in all this? How did you get involved in the paranormal world? I mean, I know that's a question everybody gets asked, but we want to know.
Well, I mean, growing up had experiences and everything, but it was my son in Scouts, and it's just weird how everything just goes in a circle, and it was stayed overnight at Fort Mifflin. Fort Mifflin has a good scouting program, and this was before Ghost Hunters filmed, before it was a paranormal hotspot. We had spent the night. It was the weekend after the siege weekend. There was a 5-week siege in 1777. You know, they held the British off for 5 weeks before enabled Washington to go to Valley Forge. But so they have a reenacting siege weekend every year. So we were there at the fort the weekend after siege, and it was just nuts. I mean, a bunch of us adults were going around chasing figures, doing head counts on scouts, hearing voices. It was off the charts. So then started watching the Ghost Hunters, and got interested in the paranormal, and started to attend events that were around and talk to people. There's a local organization. It's called the Para Study. It's out in Chester Heights in Pennsylvania. That deals with everything: Reiki, horoscopes, paranormal, you name it. They deal with it all. And started going out there and learning as much as I could, and then got in a couple groups, and then eventually was down the fort a lot to volunteer, helping out, and then was asked if I could then become the paranormal host there. So that's how it's been. So that's how.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it started at first big paranormal experience started at Fort Mifflin, and there I am.
And it ended there. No,
Yep.
hasn't ended yet.
Hasn't ended yet.
That's amazing that you guys started with Scouts. I have a kid in Scouts, and did you guys? I'm assuming you went to Fort Mifflin. Did you go there for an haunted experience, or was it like a camp out, like just a normal history tour?
Yeah, just a history. You're able to spend the nights there, and so it's a great, a lot of different things from merit badges you can accomplish there, and so we went and spent the night there.
What if we can get our troop there? How do we get our troop there?
Yeah, just go to the website fortmifflin.us, and then there's the programs, and there's educational, scouting, and the paranormal, and you can get sign up to get your scouts in there.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because there's all kinds of stuff that we have available for the scouts, different, the history, citizens of the nation, the citizens of the world, different things you can get off, check off for different merit badges that you can earn while you're there. So
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
yep.
I have one working on Eagle Scout right now. So
yeah, great. Yeah, my son's an Eagle, so that it's great. Yep.
Well, I'm going to throw you for a loop. It's my daughter.
Oh,
I don't know. there's different people that agree and don't agree with girls being in scouts. So, leave your opinions. You
Yeah,
guys can have. You're welcome to your opinions. I'm not going to judge yours. Don't judge mine. But it has changed her life.
yeah, you got
Yeah,
still got to do your basics, you know.
she does. Yeah, she's a patrol leader. She's amazing. So yeah, I think I love that we have that connection. Um, but yeah, like it's so cool. Like you take the kids, and I know we were talking earlier before we went live about how the kids just. I know I did an event with kids this weekend, and it just seems like at the Hoover House, like they attract more energy. They like more
They,
energy stirs up. Do you
they,
do you feel like that
oh,
happens?
oh, definitely, definitely. I tell people that people want to come down to investigate. I say best times is after we have a reenactment. You know, we do Civil War, the World War One, Two, and Revolutionary reenactments, or after the scouts are there, because they just, yeah, I mean, they just charge. The spirits just get that energy off those
I was
kids,
gonna
and
say it has to be that energy that kids have
yeah,
compared to us.
it
You know,
does.
they've got a constant they got a constant energy even when sleeping. Some of them do, but
Yeah, yeah,
definitely
yeah. The scouts will sleep good after while they're there because man, they get their energy's just drained. So yeah, I always tell people, yeah, make check out the schedule. If there's a scouts or reenactment, book it.
I
like I
know.
said, that's on my bucket list this
Andy
year.
and I were talking about it today. We want to get down there. I almost got down there recently, but I think there was still a lot of flooding. How is that going? Like, how is
It
that with?
Yeah, we're getting there. You know, it's been a bad winter. We had that big storm that went through that didn't, it blew the roof off the officers' quarters.
Yeah,
Uh, so we're looking at supposed to get by the end of this week two estimates come back in about the cost of that. And yeah, the flooding it's been um, the rain. We've been, this weather's been awful, and Fort Mifflin is right on the Delaware River. Um, it was used to be Mud Island, so it lives up to its name. There's a moat around the fort, and there's a flood tidal gate, sluice gate that to control the water in and out of the. When that storm hit, it was such a high, big surge. It's almost like a hurricane. Surge hit, and it damaged the sluice gate, the tidal gate. So we were not getting able to have water. Water was coming in constantly. It wasn't being shut so that when the high tides, it was just coming in constantly and it wasn't draining properly. Um, so that's been worked on.
there it
Thank
is.
good. Yep. Coming up. Hey, Susan. There's airport's they've committed to spend over $1 million and replace and put a new sluice gate,
That's awesome.
tidal gate in for us. So
That's amazing.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
so they're in the permit stage right now. The surveyors are, I think, coming out this week to start the surveying work up on the seawall and get that. So we're hoping we can get that by the end of the year, get the new sluice gate in. So, but yeah, I mean, if anybody's coming out to the fort, wear boots. Don't come out with sneakers or anything because the ground is still saturated. I mean, we're not flooded. It's just um, it the water's just hasn't had the ground levels to water up is still so high, so it just
I was
um,
gonna say it has nowhere to go. It's just
has
that.
nowhere to go.
Yeah,
It's there, but
Yeah, that area is just
here
it's.
it's the same here.
Yeah.
yep. So
It seems like that way everywhere. Like the mountain, South Mountain here in Michigan State Forest. It's like the trees, like it's almost like a cleansing that's happening because there's so many trees that just like everywhere. You just drive down that road and you just see trees all
oh yeah,
falling
just
over.
falling down. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was water today coming home. There was actually, I mean, it was cool, but it was a stream that where there usually isn't one. I
Yeah.
mean, the water had to come it was had to go somewhere, and
Oh,
Yeah.
right down off the mountain, like exactly where you're talking about, Stacey, right in that area, and
Yeah.
uh, even the battlefield. I took a ride out there when it was kind of I don't know, sprinkling and stuff like that. But there a couple weeks ago, it was clean out into the road, and especially like over by the Pennsylvania Monument was like a swamp. And
Mm.
I noticed it was still kind of. Yesterday, I took a ride. I guess it was no, this morning when I drove through, and it was still like there's freaking ducks out there, like going out, and I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of water and stuff when the ducks are out there, kind of just sitting in the middle of it. But
Like,
yeah,
new pond. We've just made a pond.
yep, yep.
It
But yeah,
is.
how did it do with the earthquake? Did you feel
Yeah,
that over there?
not much, I mean, I think because the ground's so saturated, it's just,
That's
you
true.
know, oh,
That is true.
she's gone. Yeah, it's just, no problems with the earthquake at all. There, she's back.
I'm
Did you?
here. I heard you guys the whole time.
But yeah, I was. We were just talking about it because some people felt it all the way down here.
I felt it. I
Yeah,
did.
Yeah, we
almost
did at my place. It was just about a rumble, but nothing.
Mhm.
When they were down the fort, there was no. People didn't have any.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I just had a little I was laying in bed, and I don't think I would have felt it if I wasn't sitting still, kind of thing. I was sitting still, and it like thunder. I have a very old house, and thunder sometimes shakes my house. So I
Hmm.
thought like, oh, there's like, I don't know, construction up the street, and then it just kept. It lasted longer than normal, and I'm like, oh, well, there's something going on, and I have horsehair plaster, so I'm like, you know what? I think my ceiling's caving in. So I'm grabbing my purse, and mind you, I'm in bed. I'm still drinking my coffee, watching TV. And yeah, at that time of day, I was still drinking my coffee and watching TV. But
thirsty.
um, I grabbed my purse, and I'm like, oh, I got to grab my bra because if I got to go outside because the house is falling apart, and I'm like running out the door. And then I realized what it was, but it was
Yep.
kind of crazy. So
God,
what did you do before all of this? Like, obviously you said you worked with, or you volunteered with the Scouts, and you had a Scout. I mean, what was your prior life, if you don't mind me asking?
Prior life before paranormal, or just I mean, work wise, which one?
Yeah, yeah, work wise. That's what I was just saying. Like,
Work wise, I did worked for a computer company for years. I am a computer science major, so I was
oh,
computer, and then
cybersecurity.
then got it was laid off from the company and ended up working for the federal government for a few years.
well, that's why he was a little reserved
Hey,
about
So.
that. We won't go any further. Um, um, no, I always like to know because sometimes it ties in together.
Hmm.
Like it's almost like a natural progression of getting into that paranormal world, which it seems like with like some of the history and stuff, that more was probably your scouts like leading you into that.
Scouts, yeah, and then just with my background in the government, just I'm able to can pick up a lot of things from people, so that helps with the paranormal.
okay, Stephanie. Cool. She talking to me. Sorry.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
Without
God.
history, man, we don't have paranormal. I try to explain that to people. In Gettysburg, they believe it or not, Greg. People come into Gettysburg and they say, "Well, what makes it so haunted?" How do you answer that?
Right,
I just
right.
say history. That's what I
Yep,
tell.
There's a portal.
yep,
Although I think there is a portal in Gettysburg, but there's a portal.
yep. Yeah, we
They
got
just
one
come
day.
through here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the history. You got to, paranormal and history go together. You got to know your history.
Exactly.
You
And
do.
yeah, I mean, like you say, with the scout, with the going through all the merit badges and with learning the history and yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the history of the fort, if you don't mind.
All righty. Well, fort was laid out by the British 1771 because Philadelphia at that time was the largest English city in the colonies. So they started building it in 1771, the fort, to defend the city of Philadelphia from, the Spanish, the French, the Portuguese, the pirates, whoever. Um, and of course, like normal times, after a few years, they run over budget, and the British said, "Okay, we're done. We're not gonna uh, spend any more money on it." And so that was about 1774, and then 1775, you had the shot heard around the world, and um, good old Ben Franklin said, "Wow, Philadelphia, we need to defend it." So he organized a fundraiser to get the fort in a condition. I mean, the British were building it with all stone, and when they stopped, the Americans came in and fortified it with just log and earth. Um, and then it ended up 1777. It was your largest naval bombardment in the Revolutionary War. You had 400 patriots that were there, and they held the British off for 5 weeks. At the height of the
Crazy.
siege, yeah, at the height of the siege, there was over 1,000 cannonballs an hour. The British were firing on the fort. It was an island, it was Mud Island, so you had British warships, and then they built land batteries, and they just pounded the hell out of the fort. And out of the 400 men, you had 150 that were able to get out of the fort. They secretly rowed across the Delaware River to Fort Mercer. Um, then the fort was rebuilt under President John Adams in the late 1790s, and it was built during the yellow fever epidemic that was sweeping through Philadelphia. So you had a lot of yellow fever death, and it was built but with the aid of the French engineer, French officers that were in charge of rebuilding it. And of course, a lot of people don't know about the pseudo war we had with the French. Um, After the French Revolution, John Adams said, "Well, we don't have to pay any you guys back the debt we owe you because we owed that to King Louis." And then, so we had a little feud with the French there for a while. So a lot of the guys that were building the fort, they ended up getting imprisoned by in the fort by Adams. Um, so yeah, so we
Talk
locked
about
these guys up.
irony.
Yeah, they built a fort and then we locked them back up. And then 1812, Philadelphia was not the capital of the United States at that time, so the British never came up the Delaware, but it was manned, um, fortified, and Civil War became military prison. We housed Confederates from Gettysburg and Union soldiers, and we had political prisoners, civilian prisoners. Um, World War I, two, munitions depot.
So
World
prisoners of war, like
Yeah,
basically. Yeah.
prisoners of war, Confederates, yeah, and
Mm-hmm.
the Union prisoners, guys, deserters,
Mm-hmm.
guys that were charged with any kind of military crime, the Union guys, and political prisoners. A lot of people don't notice that Lincoln became very hated. With the war was dragging out. A lot of people were against him, and especially when he signed the Emancipation Proclamation, he
Mm-hmm.
was he was a very hated person,
Yeah.
and so if people um, talked bad about him, they were getting locked up. They walked tens of thousands of civilians were locked up throughout the
I got to know
country.
I guess
today.
that would be called treason, right? Is it?
Well, they just preachers that preached against the war.
Oh, okay.
Anybody that preached against the war spoke up against it. He locked them up. It was Stanton, the Secretary of War, that was in
Mhm.
charge, and he just was locking people up.
Hmm.
And it
Yep.
could be hearsay. Somebody said, "Well, we heard so and so say something negative about President Lincoln," and get a knock on the door, and you get dragged out to prison. So we had,
Well, yeah, like that. I'm going to interrupt you there because I'm like thinking to myself, like, of all the crap we hear today, like political wise, I don't want to get political, but
right,
like, doesn't that like freedom of speech? Aren't we allowed to do
right,
that?
yeah. Well, like I say, there's some good books,
Okay.
and this was written after in the 1870s after the war. And he tried to document um, everybody that was in prison. This is one of the and it's
It
stick.
looks well loved.
And it has the list, and he tried to document
Mhm.
everybody that was imprisoned throughout
Mm.
um, the whole Baltimore County. City Council was imprisoned.
No.
Francis Ford Key's
Oh, that's where I'm
grandson,
from.
yeah, was in prison in Fort McHenry. Um,
Well,
so so we had there was 44 from upstate Pennsylvania. They were called the Fishing Creek Conspiracy or the Confederacy. They were they refused to report for the draft, and Lincoln sent
Mm.
troops up, and they rounded up over 144 of them were sent to Fort Mifflin, and then there was another group of 40 from Clearfield County, Pennsylvania, that were rounded up and sent to the fort. We had a bunch of the Molly Maguires. If people heard about the Molly Maguires, the miner uprising, we had a bunch of them sent down there too. So you had your Confederates, you had your political civilian prisoners, then you had the Union prisoners. So it was a mix, and it was conditions were awful. And like I say, this book is about Americans' Bastille, you know, and the conditions, and people were dying of basically dysentery, sleeping on the ground in their own waste, and it went through the fort. It wasn't just prisoners dying. Yeah,
yeah,
uh,
I've heard that's like the northern Andersonville.
yeah, it was just awful. That I mean, just people just like I said, they would have a half bucket for the waste. These guys were shoved in these the casemates. When the fort was rebuilt under Adams, these casemates were for the bomb shelters for the troops, and then Civil War they became the prison cells, and they just shoved these guys in there. And again, and like I say, they just slept on floors. In their own waste. It was a half barrel, and they dump it at maybe once every 2 weeks, dump it out, and then draw their drinking water for these guys. So it was just awful. So a lot of death there, and
Mm.
um, we're right on the Delaware River. You get lots of drowning victims.
Hmm.
Till this day, there's still bodies get recovered off the shore on there. Um, the military prison, you had executions by hanging or firing squads. Um, so you have layers of death and layers of history and layers of spirits there. So
Yeah, that's it's what it sounds like. Like that's I don't
it
know. It's
makes
just
it,
so
yeah, it
much.
makes it unique, because there's just so
Hmm.
many layers. It was the longest active military fort in United States history, revolutionary through
Hmm.
the Korean War. It was deactivated in 1954.
It looks like it's. I'm looking at pictures right now.
Uh-huh.
Actually, let me share them, and people can look too.
Yeah, I
Um,
had a family, like a seventh cousin Confederate that escaped from there.
Mm,
He escaped through, I guess they used to take the waste out like trash and stuff on a wagon or
mm-hmm.
something outside of the fort, and he snuck out in that
Wow.
and
these look like.
Delaware
Oh wow.
for a while. And yeah, that's in our family thing, but he wasn't there very long because he doesn't.
Excuse
I
me.
don't even know if they ever recorded him. It was like 2 or
Yeah.
3 days, and he got out. I guess they still had him before they placed him other places,
Hmm.
and
Right.
So it looks like I'm assuming you guys can see the pictures.
mhm.
It looks like it's almost shaped like a star, or like there's like zigzag. Like
Yeah, it's all zigzag. It was, when it was rebuilt, the British completely destroyed it
okay,
after the siege of 1777. So
okay,
John Adams rebuilt it. The those big walls in the front, that's original. The stone is original from 1777. But when the French, it would be rebuilt, it was the French influence with the design plus the old British design. So that's why you got the stars,
okay.
and then there's our moat that goes around it.
That's the moat right here. Yeah.
Yeah, and
And this picture looks like it's from 81.
and
So.
then there's the Delaware River, and across
Hmm.
is New Jersey.
Oh,
So,
getting some
so
different picture views here.
yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's very unique. It's
And I can see why you guys are having problems with flooding.
right. Yep. We are actually below the river level. There's a seawall there that keeps
Hmm.
us from flooding, but with this weird weather we've been getting, these storms, and it's getting them breached, and so
Hi,
you
Pam.
know.
Hi, Pam.
Hey,
What's
Pam.
looking at?
We got to get on track with that, Andy. We do
Yes,
the
we
same thing
do.
at the same time. Um, yeah, that's it's just it looks so cool, and I've been wanting to get out there and just check it out, just to see
Yeah, just to
everything,
walk
the
around
history of
and
it.
feel it. Yeah, just feel
Oh,
the.
I want to feel it. I do.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. So I've read some things about it, and I know you've talked about the Revolutionary and different wars and things like that. But I've also read. I have this strong fascination with pirates.
right.
Is there's some pirate stories there too, right?
Right. I mean, you had Blackbeard was um, headquartered. Well, he would come up. He would come up to Delaware,
Yeah.
and Kidd too would come up to Philadelphia. Right below for the is a town called Marcus Hook, and it's called the Plank House, and that was supposed to be Blackbeard's mistress house. A lot of people don't know that whole area was settled by the Swedes first.
Hmm.
Um, and so she was a Swedish widow, and he was supposed to be come up and that was supposed to be his girlfriend. So, but the Blackbeard, yeah. And there was a pirate. There was a privateer that was captured, and um, he was supposed to be put in one of those cages, and hung outside the fort along the river, so that and the body rots. It's in the cage. They put you in alive, and you just there until you die, and the birds and whatever eat you. And um, but he had some high political friends, so they pardoned him, so he didn't get to hang from his cage outside the fort. But yeah, we do a pirate day every year at the fort. So we
Yeah, that's what I was like the pirate. I have friends who actually they play pirates, can and they yeah, coffee.
we
Thank you.
just had yeah we just
Um,
had some that
they come up and they do it there and they tell me all about it. So
yeah, they come up to the fort, and there's Marcus, and we just had some pirates there Saturday night. We had our Colonial Tavern event Saturday night, and some people were dressed as pirates and came out,
mhm.
so that was a fun time.
I'm coming. I'm dressing as a pirate.
Yeah, definitely dressed as a pirate.
Yeah, I'd love to come to the Pirate Fest. That's a big. I'm actually this weekend coming up. I'll be at a Ocean Renaissance, so it's very
Oh, good.
piratey, mermaids, stuff like that, and I just love it.
And
But
and in May we're have the Philadelphia Renaissance Fair rents the fort out, and they have it um the weekend of the May what's that Memorial Labor Day week
Memorial Day.
Memorial Weekend, Friday, Saturday,
Oh,
Sunday, Monday they will be at the fort.
all
So
right,
that
Pam. I might go to Fort Mifflin instead of your house on Memorial.
yeah, it's a big Philadelphia Renaissance Fair. It's really
I
good.
didn't know that. I'll have to look into that because I do a lot of those festivals and shows.
Yeah, look into it because yeah, I mean it just I'll send you the link and stuff, and where you
Yeah,
and see about yeah, that's always a good time.
yeah, that sounds awesome. So, Andy, do you have any other questions for him? Because I have more, but
Well, I guess what I wanted to ask is a paranormal question. I got two dogs playing right here at my feet. Um, with all the layers of history, and when it comes to paranormal, do you ever think? I mean, do you see the different layers when people are
Oh, definitely.
investigating, or do you think they all know that the other ones are there? I guess is what I'm asking, or do you think it's almost separated? Like you may get one night, you may get the Civil War guys. The next night might be Revolutionary, or could you get any of them at any given time? I guess. And
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I've seen every time period spirit that's there. I mean, um, I've seen revolutionary. I've seen just civilians. We have a woman that's in blue that Civil
I've heard
War. She's got the big skirt on and everything, and she's seen
that's awesome.
constantly. I think she's probably Elizabeth. Bunker. She actually died at the fort in 1860s. She was there when it was a military prison,
Right?
and she actually caught it was dysentery going through the fort. It was just conditions so bad, so she actually died by dysentery for there.
Is that the
Uh,
one that screams?
we don't. The screaming lady is well documented. You
Oh
know,
yeah, I've heard.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I've heard it multiple times. People that a lot of people that you would know that have stopped down there. We've heard it, and it's well documented. I mean, it's so well documented because Philadelphia police have been called multiple times to come out because the screams coming from the fort.
Right.
Um,
Oh,
uh,
seriously, that bad?
it's that bad. Yeah.
I've heard it. Yeah, I've heard it. Well, I've heard it on EVPs and other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You
If there's
can.
anybody in the comments or if anybody watching this that has heard it, that's been there, let us know.
Yeah. So I
mhm.
mean, the fort was deeded to the city in 62. But that's the historical structure. The ground around us was all Fort Mifflin when it was active, but that's got the Army Corps of Engineers uses that ground,
This has
and
nothing to do with you. I'm sorry, Greg.
it's all right.
It was
And
just one of the comments.
Brandon Cooper's in the house.
oh, geez, okay, and and um. Geez, where was I going now?
I'm
Uh,
sorry. I,
but no, I lost that train of thought on that one. What was I talking about?
I'm sure it wasn't about.
Oh, the screaming lady. So yeah, the Army Corps of Engineers, they're people working over there. They've heard the scream, and they're the ones calling the fort when after dark when no one's there, and the police have come out and investigated, and they can't find it. So we don't know who the screaming lady actually is. People pick up the name Elizabeth. Um, we know of the deaths of Elizabeth. Um, uh, Unfortunately, there was a book written called Haunted Philadelphia, and a lot of people, and in that it was described that the screaming lady was Elizabeth Pratt, and the story was Elizabeth Pratt was a wife of an officer that lived there and had an older daughter that fell in love with an enlisted soldier, which was taboo. She would have needed to marry an officer. So she actually ran away with this enlisted soldier. So he was deserted. So Elizabeth Pratt then shunned the daughter, and then supposedly years later, when news gets back that the daughter dies, and Elizabeth Pratt just goes completely bonkers, just screaming. They lock her up in the closet up in the second floor officers' quarters.
Ooh,
Eventually, she breaks out, ties a rope around the railing, and hangs herself. So that was
Oh,
the story that was put out in the haunted Philadelphia, and then that was when Ghost Hunters came out to film the first time. That was repeated to them on Ghost Hunters.
mhm.
okay.
Well,
So
well, we know.
it's not like a confirmed in history, but definitely
Well, we know for a fact Elizabeth Pratt did live at Fort,
okay.
and she was married to a sergeant, not an officer,
Okay.
and she had an infant son that was born there at the fort, but he died. ju-
Dysentery.
Yeah, or probably yellow fever when it was
Or, yeah.
when the he died in July of 1802. They had a little daughter named Elizabeth. She died in December of 1802, and Elizabeth Pratt died then February of 1803. So she never had an adult
Hmm.
daughter, and the officers' quarters wasn't built to 1814. So
Okay.
she died in 1803. So could it be Elizabeth screaming? It could be, but she never hung herself. Now Elizabeth Bunker, who I mentioned earlier, that was there when it was a military prison, she did live in the officers' quarters, and she actually died over in the hospital building, but and she would have died of dysentery. Or they had it down as a gastrointestinal,
Yeah.
so be painful and screaming. So
Yeah.
you know, so everybody picks up the name Elizabeth, but it
You don't
could
know
be.
the true
Yeah,
story.
we don't know who it is. It could be Elizabeth Pratt screaming
Hmm.
because of her two children dying, or
Hmm.
Elizabeth Bunker
That
because
was
of
a common name too back then.
yeah.
It was.
So it just I always try to make it the point that yes, Elizabeth Pratt never hung herself. You know, so I got people that argue with me about that. Well, we heard it on TV on taps, but that's not true.
Yeah,
And
and that's but I think we love, and that's what this is the part I love about the paranormal is little stories like that, the personal stories.
Hmm.
Yes, I honor the battles and all the men that have died and all the things that have happened, but those personal stories, that's what get us. I think that's what get us to keep coming and keep, we get an emotional attachment to these stories. Um, so then we start to feel part of it. We're part of something.
well, that's the
Right.
imprint that it leaves too, man.
Mhm.
Something that's
Yes. Yes.
personal and
It leaves that emotional imprint. Yeah.
yeah, it's just that personal. It's got to leave an imprint. I mean, some people didn't like in Gettysburg, let's say, or even there at the fort. Somebody dies, by a gunshot quick. Not
Right.
saying don't imprint like that, but can you imagine the imprint if you're dying, let's say, of dysentery and days
Mhm.
and days of being,
Right.
in misery and, hi Dave.
Right. Well,
That's
it's like
an imprint.
it's like with the dying from cannon fire.
Hmm.
I
Mhm.
mean, the largest naval bombardment. I mean, they were over 1,000 cannonballs an hour.
Yeah,
Guys were just getting cut down. It's documented. Guys' heads were getting blown off, just cut
yeah.
in half.
Mhm.
Um, they were running out of cannonballs to shoot back, so they were giving guys rations of rum to recover cannonballs so we could shoot them back at the British. Well, after a while, you guys get too many shots of rum. They're trying to catch the cannonballs, so it didn't work out very well.
Yeah.
So a lot of,
We got Brandon Cooper with all the jokes today. Dysentery is a shitty way to go.
it
Oh,
is
shifty. He says shifty, but I think he meant shitty.
shitty. Yep. But yeah, so you mad
Mhm.
like that's with Gettysburg. Those guys just died instantly, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
they're still out there fighting.
That's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, because we just went out to shoot, Iverson's Pit. And that was 400 and some people, almost 500 people that died from one volley.
Hmm.
Some of them died, they were still like fingering the trigger, stuff like that. So that has to leave imprints, man. They're still there. That obviously, I mean, that's what the paranormal and investigating is all about, is finding out, well, do they still think that they're in the, are they seconds before they died, are they still in that,
Right.
Yeah.
that mindset or whatever, or I don't want to say mindset, but it's still in that, veil of just, and that's where it is. And it keeps replaying. I mean, I've got a lot of people that stay at the Doubleday Inn right there that come in and tell us, man, that they'll hear people moaning and
I've heard someone got pushed down the stairs there.
really, but I mean, that's right across the street from,
Yeah.
where the Iverson's Pit was. And, it's just, I can't imagine, especially, man, because I mean, medicine wasn't the greatest during the Civil War, but think about what it wasn't when it was a Revolutionary War,
Right.
Mhm.
I mean, pretty
Yeah.
Yeah.
much a little
Yeah.
bit of a gunshot today, oh, that's nothing, fix it up, would probably throw you to the side if it was during the Revolutionary or Civil War.
Well, you just got, if you got wounded, you
That's what
go
I'm
to
saying.
you go to a field hospital, you're pretty much death sentence because there
Yeah.
was no hygiene. They didn't believe in washing hands. So they go from one to the other with blood and blood, and people were just
Yeah.
dying of infections. So it was just
Mm.
brutal,
Yep.
you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. That's exactly.
So I have a question about the fort. Um, you might not, but is there one place in the fort that you will not go?
Not anymore.
Okay.
I've when first, I could not, the powder magazine, that's where they would store the gunpowder. For years, I could not go in there by myself for years. And then I forced myself one time, I was all alone. And when you're in there, it's pitch black. You can't see the hand in front of your face. So I forced myself one time to go in there. I sat in the back of the wall with my back against the back wall. And I sat there and I heard something banging coming towards me. It sounded like metal on the wall, and I just sat there, and then later on I had my recorder, and then when I played it back, somebody was screaming, "Get out!" It was like right on top of me, just
Oh.
screaming.
Yeah.
Um, And so I got that out of there. There was a couple other places that I didn't like to walk by, but now I'm good. I passed my initiation with them. You know, they tried. They tried. Everybody that comes new, they all tried to. They test you out.
That's what I heard.
That's just what do they test you at like so like first time we come, we can expect to be tested.
They try to test you. Yeah. I mean, the first time I was there by myself, um, I'm closing up, and they start banging on doors that I'm closing, and eh, just to test you out. I mean, we have people that don't pass the test. They just scram. We last year we hired a new groundskeeper, and he lasted I think 2 weeks. Just one day he said, "I've had enough. I'm out of here," and he took off.
Serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard all this. I've heard. Yeah, we've talked. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So have you seen?
I've heard little bits and pieces, but I haven't heard all of it. So
Have you seen anything change with the roof being gone and stuff like that as an energy, or?
Not
well,
really.
that's a good question.
You know, uh, there hasn't been a lot going on with the activity, with the paranormal. We've had to postpone and close, cancel a lot of things through
Yeah.
March because of the conditions were just so bad.
Mhm.
So I've only had a couple paranormal groups there this year, where last year it was just off the charts, just because of but being a lot of water, it has stirred things up, the activity though.
Water is a conduit.
Yep. So we
I
got the
believe.
moat, and now the grounds have been so saturated, it has
Mhm.
really stirred up a lot of stuff.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, that probably did, since the roof blew off. It has, with all the water that's been around, it stirred it up.
Well, it's awesome that you got people helping you get it rebuilt, though. That's
Yeah. Is there any like I think last time I saw you live on when things are just starting to happen, you guys had a fundraiser or something where you have something going
Yeah,
on. Is that still
yeah,
is there people
yeah,
that can yeah.
yeah. It's still out there. Just go to the FortMifflin.us web page, and you can find the help us the fort. Because like I say, we supposed to get 2 bids in for the roof repair this week. We're looking
Okay.
at anywhere for $50 to $100,000. Yeah, because you have to go with the historical, since it's a national historic site. You have to go through all the red tape a bit, and so the one of the contractors, he did the roofs at Eastern State, so he's very um, good
Yeah,
with
because this
this.
isn't like putting a roof on my house,
Right,
like this
right.
is different.
Yeah, you're putting a roof back on in 1814
yeah,
And
and
it
building.
there's
needs to look like it's from 1814.
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen a couple here in Gettysburg that they have a company. He does. I mean, he's using the same nails and having to get them done,
yeah,
specifically to stay with the time period, and that's just yeah,
yep,
that's awesome that somebody still does that. And this guy actually still uses, as close as he can, the same kind of tools and everything else, because that's
right.
what he wants to do. And I had the pleasure of going into the well, I call it the Trossel House. Some people say Trussell, but it's Trossel House. And
Yeah.
watch him put down some planks and stuff. And man, they were some hard workers back then, man. You know what I'm saying? They didn't have.
Oh, oh yeah. I mean, well, just like the fort being rebuilt in the 1790s, and just see the skill. I mean, it was an island. They had to bring everything over by boat, and just the brickwork and everything that it's just amazing that all that's still standing, and conditions that we have there at the fort. So
Yeah, I
So
just
tell us, like, I know you just told us about the place you don't want to go. do you have a spirit there? I think I've heard this before, so
Right.
that
Yep.
you communicate with regularly.
Right. Yeah.
Isn't there like a guide or someone that yeah.
The judge. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the political prisoners. There's this, he's always identified himself as the judge, and
Okay.
I was always, had no clue who, is he an alpha spirit that calls himself the judge? But then, when I did research and I found this one, it lists the prisoners from Clarendon County, Pennsylvania, and lo and behold, one of the prisoners was an actual sitting judge that was did some anti-Lincoln rallies and got thrown in jail. So Judge Jacob Wilhelm. So he was in prison there at Fort Mifflin.
Oh,
So
I've heard that name. Yeah.
yeah, so he's you know he was there. He was, I think he was 67 years old when he was sent there, and
Wow.
conditions weren't. Yeah, there was people up in their 70s that were sent in prison there. Um, So yeah, he got so sick while I was there because the casemates are just damp and with all this rain, it's the conditions you go in there and the water's just dripping down, and they describe it in from um, newspaper articles and everything about these prisoners back then about how the conditions were so bad with the water dripping and sleeping on their own waste and everything. So yeah, he was only there a few months and got sick, and then they were sending him out, and he eventually died shortly afterwards. But he actually shunned the place before he died. So
Oh
you know,
wow.
So Dave Haney asks, I guess
hmm
this is for all of us. He says, "How difficult is it to find historical records to match any claims of paranormal activity?"
we've been pretty lucky, like I say, with the Elizabeth Pratt. We've come up with the death, listing her and her children's death. So we know Elizabeth Pratt did die there. We have the names that come up. Um, there's, like I say, we got these doc books with has a list of the Clarendon prisoners that were in there, and there's another one with the um, the list of upstate in Pennsylvania. So we know the names, people that actually were there and died, and their names do come up, but people do capture them. Um, Newspaper articles. We have tons of newspaper articles about, and that list names of drowning victims. People have picked up the names of these drowning victims.
Mm,
Um, so there's a lot. Since it was a military installation, there's a lot of documentation out there, and plus being in Philadelphia, there's a lot of articles, news articles um, that we have. And with the Revolutionary War, there was a lot of documentation you can find about those that were killed,
that's
and
awesome.
there's a great book that's called there was this one. He was like the Forrest Gump of the Revolutionary War. Um, Geez, his name's but he wrote a book. He was in every major battle of the Revolutionary War, and he was there at Fort Mifflin during the siege. And he describes, he document names guys like Captain Stoddard that got his head blown off, and so there's a lot of good records of it. So
Yeah.
it backs it up, and we find stuff. You find stuff. People pick up stuff, and you do research, and you find it. So.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I like Susan's question.
I do too.
She's asking about, are women welcome in the barracks? And I want to say in the fort in general. Does that cause the spirits to like get upset, or are there any reaction? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, women do get. I mean, women did live there with the officers, okay, during the Civil War and all. So you had women that were there. But yes, women. We had children die at the fort. So sometimes women pick up a little child, grabbing their hands. Um, um, some, I guess, Susan, there's a particular spirit that likes blonde females, likes to stroke their hair
Mm.
and touch. And
Well, we got a couple blondes on the peaches coming there in June. So
yeah, so especially if they have a ponytail, they like to get their ponytail gets yanked. But the woman, they just, there there's nothing aggressive towards it. It's just, you know, um, our executive director is a female, and she wasn't very welcomed by them for years. But they've grown to accept her now, and she gets she gets greeted with hello, good mornings. So
Nice.
Mhm.
that's good. But that took years for them to accept her.
Brandon Cooper's asking,
Uh-huh.
do you think the stone tape theory accounts for a large majority of the haunting at the fort?
Stone tape. What's that?
I don't even know.
I will look it up. Stone tape theory.
I probably will hear it
All
and
right.
then I'll be like, ah,
Okay, so stone tape theory is a speculation that ghosts and hauntings are um,
no.
analogous tape recordings that mental impression, basically loop replayed. It sounds like similar to like when we talk about residual energy.
Yeah, there's a lot of residual, and there's intelligent residual, and a lot getting back with the Elizabeth. I mean, when they came out with the Elizabeth Pratt story about her hanging herself, that one for years where people were coming in asking about Elizabeth Pratt and about the hanging and stuff. So a lot of that energy could have been left there. Um, she could have that could have manifested, you know.
Right.
So that's that could have happened too.
I'm still
Uh,
here. My camera's acting
yeah.
funny again.
So yeah. So yeah.
They do
So
any, they allowed any metal detecting there?
no, since it's a National Historic Site, we can't do anything. We're trying to get some more group of archaeologists in. They were over and did some work over at Mercer. We want to get them in and do some. I mean, before it was deeded to the city, Army Corps of Engineers did a lot, and they did a lot of excavation. So we have a lot of stuff. I mean, like I say, over 1,000 cannonballs, and mostly a lot of times they were just shooting the little grape shot balls,
Right.
because the big cannonballs, they were whistling, so they were knowing when they were coming in. So British just started to just pound it with the grape shots, so they were coming in by everywhere, and they were taking guys out. So we actually have 5-gallon buckets of these grape shot
I'm
balls,
sure.
and
Wow.
then they got the Army Corps of Engineers next to us, and when they do dredging of the Delaware, they will pop up cannonballs and stuff left and right, and they get donated right back to the fort.
So
Sweet.
with this rain and this everything that's happening, is there anything that's coming up surfacing?
Yes, we had some muskets balls come up,
Nice.
some coins, some old shoe buckles, stuff that is coming up. Yeah, and it's funny. We got groundhogs there. So the first thing, if I see a groundhog hole, I go and I look to see if it shot anything out of its hole.
Right.
And you can find stuff. I found one time a button from 1812 uniform.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dave Haney's saying, he knows it's an amazing investigation or will be. And, but he's saying maybe as a veteran, he can elicit some specific responses.
Yeah, we get a lot of good veterans that come in and you know, to do some. There's some good veteran groups that come in, and plus with the reenactors, a lot of the
I bet.
Sajak camera, and
No, I'm like, there's something. Well, I have a poltergeist. I need to tell you that. I'm having a poltergeist in my house. I don't know if it's for my teenage daughter or myself, because she's going through becoming a woman, and I'm leaving being a
right,
woman. So
okay,
I'm not
yeah,
ending being a woman, but you know what I mean.
right,
She's
yep,
starting and I'm ending. So there's a lot of poltergeist, and I think that's what's going on with my camera. So I'm bringing some sage
all right.
out.
But yeah, I mean, so yeah, as a veterans, and one of our volunteers there, Mike's a Vietnam vet, and he has a lot of good repertoire with them. He's great. He's 76 years old, and he's
That's
just like,
awesome.
and
Jason, my grandmother, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt real quick.
uh,
Jason, my grandmother used to freeze grapes and cover them with sugar and freeze them in the freezer. And it was like our candy. I
oh
love that.
yeah, that is
Sorry. Jason,
frozen grapes
frozen
are
grapes are amazing.
they are they're
Yeah.
great for kids. But yeah, so yep, veterans are good. Because the fort was always under naval jurisdiction, except when it was a military fort, Civil War.
Right.
So it was always naval because the Navy Yard was right up the river, and was there to protect the Navy Yard, um, and then it was always the Marines, World War I through the Korean War, that was stationed right there inside the fort,
Wow.
the guarding the munitions. It was, they build the boats at the Navy Yard, come down the river, dock at Fort Mifflin, get loaded up with their munitions, and off they went. So the old casemates, bunkers, and everything, they became bomb storage units. So they was used. So
Wow.
a lot of good military. Like I said, we've excavated. There's been from the 1700s all the way through World War II. We've had there's stuff
Awesome.
that's been there.
That's amazing. So now, like, is there, I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this question is like different groups that have come in and done this investigation of Fort Mifflin bring different energies in.
Right.
Um, and have you seen groups that have come in and kind of provoke spirits, and do they respond to that provoking?
Yeah, well, we tell people don't provoke. We
Yeah,
frown on provoking because
yeah.
respect the dead, and these guys. I always tell people no zacking. Um, you know,
I was
do
trying
not.
to get there without getting
Yeah,
there, but
yeah.
yeah.
Do not zack. So don't piss them off. I mean, respect the dead. But we've had groups um, that have done that, and
Mhm.
um, you know,
Do you have
and
groups that you allow back?
that yes, we've had groups
You
that.
don't have to name names. I'm
No,
not
I'm not
asking.
naming now. We're
No,
not going to go there.
we're not
Um,
doing that. That's
we're
not the,
not
the
doing that.
what that's
No, I mean, if, they're if they're, um, you know, no
mhm.
provoking, respect the fort, respect the property, and then, of course, then they got to put their YouTube out there, and you're like, okay, they won't be coming back. We had one time, a group. There's the old blacksmith building, and at that time, it had all the tools still all in there. I mean, these old tools. It's still a working blacksmith building. So when there's events, we'll have people in there with the forge going and forging away.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, had this one group come in, and it was a rainy night, and um, they started provoking. The blacksmith's name would be Jacob. Jacob was the blacksmith that the people pick up, and they got in there. They started provoking on Jacob, and then they started uh, taking the tools that were hanging up and throwing them out into the mud in the rain.
What?
And so, of course, then they put that out there, and it's like, okay, so they're not welcome come back anymore because provoking and just not respecting the fort, the property.
Exactly.
So yeah, it happens, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
most people,
It happens
just
at every
it happens at
location.
every
it
time,
Mhm.
does.
So
Just like Susan saying, it's their home, and that's the truth.
yep,
That
it's their home,
we're
and you
coming
just
into their place, and I always tell people, like some people go into somewhere. Like I had this discussion about Penhurst not long ago, and they couldn't figure out why they're not getting anything. But it's kind of like you can imagine now your place might be a little different, but you can
mhm,
imagine going in somewhere that there was timid people anyway that were there and died there. And it would be like somebody bringing somebody home that you didn't know. You wouldn't like rush the door and hug them and
right,
give, you know,
I
give
would.
all the info, you know what I'm saying, about yourself. But I mean, it would take some time to warm up, you know what I'm saying? And some people don't want to take that
Yeah.
patience, and then they start provoking, and
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't agree with it at all, never have, and,
Right. And yeah, you don't want to provoke a Penhurst, that's for sure.
or there either, exactly, yeah,
Yeah.
Whew.
and,
Yeah.
they actually just removed some guys out of the, Jenny Wade house. I was trying to remember what it was down in the basement and was trying to provoke, the story is there. A lot of the stuff they get, seems to go back to probably her dad, resides there. And he stayed at Eastern State. He was a resident there for a little while. Matter of fact, I believe that's where he died at, or where he was at when she got shot, when she died.
When she died. Yeah.
And
I
but
walked right through Pam's front door once, Brandon says.
but the thing was they were down there, man, doing the same thing, like slapping the mannequin, that they have in the basement, and this and that. And one of them ended up like tearing something on the door or something like that, trying to provoke. And they're a pretty local team. You know what I'm saying? And so it's
Right.
surprising. But that rang through the ghost tour little family we have, there in
Right.
Mhm.
Gettysburg. And it's like, but that's everywhere,
It
and
is.
it's like,
Yeah.
it's
And that's
terrible.
what I was trying to get at. Like, is the spirit reaction different to those who do that than the others? Do the spirits respond? They shut down, or do they give it back to them? If you know that, I don't know if you do.
Um, they they can get back at you.
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm sure.
We had.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing negative there. There's nothing demonic.
Yeah.
But if you go too far,
Yeah.
I've had some. They had to leave because they were provoking really bad, and this female had her wrist grabbed really hard, and you could see the marking on the wrist. And so it was like, how'd this happen? And then they said, they were provoking, and it was like,
hmm
all
It's just
right,
like provoking in the real world. You're going to get a
yep,
response that you don't
Exactly.
want.
That's
That's what I
exactly
was
yep,
trying to relate to. It's
yep. And then there was
yeah.
another time that it was there, and it was doing a ghost box session. There was a group out, and we were we were doing this ghost box, and this other group was over in Casemate 11, and stuff was coming through. Um, and that it was saying that these people in Casemate 11 were provoking.
Really, yeah.
So we went over to Casemate 11 and told, well, how did you know? Well, we were being told what you guys were
Right.
doing. So, yeah, you know, we have uh, the local between like White Hill, Selma, and there's Rockford down and then Delaware and stuff. Um, people we're pretty close, and if they a group wants to come in, and we'll contact each other. Have you had dealt with this group? Have you dealt with this group? What do you know about this group? So that we get people know what they expect. So
Oh yeah.
it's
Once all the years I've been in it, I know that it travels fast, and
mhm.
it should, rightfully so, in my
Yep,
opinion, that if somebody's doing things that they shouldn't be, but it is all about respect.
that's it.
You know,
Yeah,
uh,
respect the dead, respect the site. That's all.
exactly.
I mean,
It's living history. That word living, you could go back and forth a couple different ways with, but it is. It's living, breathing history, even though, we're working with paranormal or energies.
right,
It's still, nothing gets me more worked up, especially like when the cannon was told. You
right.
know, that was just, man, I still ask you about that every time I see anybody ever, you know.
So there was
eh,
a cannon stole. I've never heard this story.
Yeah, we had a signal. It was a reproduction, but it was our signal cannon that we would have and shoot off. Um, and yeah, um, it walked off. We know when and we know details about it, but it just went to a dead end, and so that's all I can say
Well,
about it.
not that it makes it better, but at least it was just a reproduction. You know what I'm
It
saying?
was just a reproduction, but still, it was a
Exactly.
400-pound little signal cannon that that
Had to be some thought put into that, man, to get that. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah. I mean, the fort wasn't broken into. It
I
was
remember hearing about that.
after an event that happened, and it was
Mm,
clean out after an event. Somehow it got taken out.
yeah,
So
that's
so you know, but
it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I have heard a story. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a certain spirit there that helps people, that will help them on the, where is my camera? There we go. That helps people on the tours, and isn't there like a ghost tour guide? Is that
yeah,
my
yeah.
okay?
Mm,
Revolutionary soldier, yeah, ghost tour guide, yeah. Yeah,
awesome.
he's a well documented. He shows up during school group tours, or people that maybe one or two people that are there during. We're open Wednesday through Sundays, 10 to 4 a.m. to 4 p.m. And during the week, if there's no school groups, it can be very, very dead. You can maybe get one or two people on a Wednesday or whatever,
Hmm.
and that's if that's when he'll show up, and he gives great tours, and people rave about this tour guide that they just came out of the fort and said that this guy was just great, and they describe him and as revolutionary soldier. Well, we don't have any. We only have tour guides on Saturdays and Sundays. We don't
Right.
have anybody tour guides on Wednesday through Fridays unless there's a school group in there, and we'll have a tour guide.
Yeah.
But the kids will see him. The tour guide that's with the school group, will be giving the tour, and the kids will see the Revolutionary soldiers like standing in the background. He's like making sure that the facts are correct, and so he's well documented. So yeah,
I
That's what
wonder.
I've heard, and that's why I was like, I'm so
I
excited.
wonder.
Like, I
Yeah,
want
I
to meet
wonder if
him.
something was told falsely if he would step up.
yeah. Now I've been asking to get a tour. I'll be there 2, 3 o'clock in the morning or so. And it's like, please, can I have a tour? And I think I've seen him. I've seen a Revolutionary Soldier, but I just haven't gotten a tour.
Yeah, they just
Haven't
had
done
that
it yet.
happen at Cedar Creek field. It's only been about 2 months ago, but some people stopped by Bell Grove Plantation, and the actual gift shop and where you get your tickets to take a tour and stuff like that are in the basement of the place. And the people come in raving about the colored lady that met her and her two children and at the steps of the house, the
Hmm.
to go into the plantation house. And all she was dressed in, because I have family that
Oh,
works there. And and
it's a stink bug.
good Lord.
No, I saw
But
it out of the corner of my eye. I don't. They
yeah,
don't
they
bother
were
me.
like, she was dressed, to the T, perfect period clothing. And, my cousins, them are like, hey, there's nobody, and it's like, uh, so yeah, I mean, that's wild though. You
Yeah.
know, uh, and nobody would even know that it was somebody fake, so that
No, no,
tells you that they're not see through all the time. You know what I'm saying?
no. I saw. I was coming out of the uh the the entrance there. It's called a Sally Port, but there are two Sally Port. There's a main gate, and then there's Sally Ports, East Sally Port, West Side. They were smaller openings, and that I don't know what that is. Um, Jesus, sorry,
It's okay.
getting messages. Um, and Jesus, it made me lose my train of thought again.
That happens. We all do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, I walk on out, and the gate was closed. I was expecting some people to come in, and I walked out to check the gate to see if anybody was out there. And there's a
This one.
Civil War soldier
Mm.
walking towards just in front of me,
Oh,
full
wow.
color. He had his hat, he had his backpack. He was just full color blue, and he was a private, and the V was red, and I'm like, wow. And then I watched him just disappear, and of course, I'm just standing there watching, and I'm not bringing my camera or cell phone out to take a picture.
Right. This way it
So
always happens.
yeah, always have.
Yeah.
So well, we have our Civil War reenactment. We always again, the fort was a Civil War military prison, so we'll have it as a Civil War prison, and we'll have the Confederates locked up and everything. And so,
Mhm.
um, I had none of the Union guys, but their insignias were all like yellow or white or something. No one had red. So I asked, would there be a red insignia on a Union um, uniform? And they said, yeah, that would have been artillery. And that makes sense. The fort was a military prison, but there still was the artillery units were manned just in case, Confederates would come up to Delaware. So that was pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool. Now, obviously, you have lots of different events that you hold there throughout the year. But if a team or somebody wants to come investigate, what should they do? Like, do you guys rent it out for a teams? Do you
We
hold
rented it. Yep.
investigations?
We do public investigations. That's the next one is June with the Peaches, and Wes
Okay.
Coleman's going to be there. Um,
What date
y-
is that?
I think it's the second or the eighth.
Oh,
I
we'll
think
be.
it's the second.
We're
June.
stuck.
Uh,
Too good.
I'm
and
looking at my calendar now.
yep. Uh,
Second will be in Huntington, and the 8th will be camping.
Oh, that's right.
I can already
Yep.
tell you those.
We're doing the theater.
The Bigfoot hunt.
Bigfoot. Oh, you're up there. Okay. June. I think it.
There's something. You ever heard of any cryptids around there?
Oh, that's a good one.
No.
No
Yeah,
big,
Yeah,
it's June 8th. June 8th with the Peaches.
no
That's her.
Mothman or a
that's
lizard
when we're
people.
Bigfooting.
Nah.
Delaware
not-
coming in.
I we have the swamp monster.
Yeah.
I mean the moat
Oh.
monster. The moat monster. We got Big Beaver in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They tell them to
So,
start building, man, to cut that water off.
he had well, we got to get him out of there because they build a moat and they build a dam in the moat and it keeps the water from going out.
Gotcha.
So, but they're too smart. They get live traps set and then they move them and put them in their dam.
Yeah.
So they use the
Yeah.
traps to reinforce their dam. So we're working on that.
Gilman or Big Nessie.
Yeah,
No
but
nest.
yeah, but we have if you go to the website fortmifflin.us and
Mhm.
programs, there's the paranormal section, and that it tells you everything you need to know about renting the fort. You can rent it overnight or just half the night,
Okay.
and
So can you sleep there if you rent it overnight? Like,
sleep there if you want to
Okay.
try and sleep. Yep.
or try to sleep there, should I say? Do we ever sleep when we sleep over? Like,
Some people do,
yeah, about 4 a.m.
yeah, 4 a.m. people crash.
Crash
And
for 3 hours.
yeah, we have a big event in October, Sleep with the Ghost, where we that limited to we have that if you don't have a group and you can come and do that, spend the
What date
night.
is that in October? Do you know? Or
It's the weekend before Halloween. It's
I'm
always
available that weekend
all right.
Hey,
because I haven't booked October yet.
Yeah, my record, we sell 40 tickets of that. My record is that I had 8 people by the end of the morning. So
really?
I was letting people out all night long. They were just they had enough.
No, I could do it. I could stay.
Yeah,
It wouldn't bother
Yeah,
me.
same.
Long as there
yeah,
was a place to pee.
that's it. Well, we right now we're still we had our poop pump stopped pumping poop, and
All right.
we
Yeah.
have porta potties out. So
Hey, there are places to pee. I'm
eh,
a woodsy
you know,
girl. I
yeah,
dig a hole in the ground.
you got the porta potties, or I tell people, you got the moat. It goes out with the tide.
See, the stink bug is right there.
All right.
Look, see it?
Yeah. Yeah, just don't crush it yet.
No, I'm not. It's just going to crawl around.
That's the same kind that's on your shoulder there on the left hand side. Well, you're right.
They don't scare me. It was in the corner of my eye. I saw something move. That's what scared me. And yeah. Anyway, so we know that there's events. Go on the website. You can get all this information about how to book the place or other events that they're doing. But also on that website, there is a place where you can donate to help with the renovations, the restorations. Please go on there. Like, I mean, I'm assuming like every dollar counts.
Every dollar counts. I mean, we're completely, unfortunately, we were deeded to the city of Philadelphia in '62. We don't get, the only thing the city does is pay the utilities of the fort. We don't get any funding from them at all.
Okay.
And it's a short, we have one full-time employee, Beth, who's our executive director. And if it wasn't for her, the fort would be closed, shut down. I mean, she works her butt off and just to keep this place going. And um, I mean, it's just every time you turn around, something's going on. So you save money for one thing, and something else pops up. And so this storm really put us in a hole right now. So every dollar counts that to help us out. So
Yeah, and that brings me to it. People can come by and see Greg at the Penhurst Paracon. He's going to have a table there. I'm sure he's got a donation jar there or a way to take donations, and as well as the bash. And I believe you said White Hill Mansion as well.
White Hill Mansion, May 11th, and Penhurst the following weekend, and then the Bash in July, and then New Jersey Unity in November.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll be there with the Fort Mifflin table, and
awesome. Yeah, go by, guys, and see him help out. Absolutely.
I'll bring a bunch of our paranormal pictures that were captured at the fort, and
sweet. So. Yes, I've seen
them. And this is what you need to do. He gives great hugs. So you need to charge $1 per hug, like a donation per hug. Yes, we're gonna do that at the back.
All right. Okay. Good.
I'm gonna make you a T-shirt.
Hug.
Yeah, like the Bigfoot that was there with the hugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or the elf on top of the head, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's superheroes this year. It'll be interesting. Do you have a superhero costume for the bash this year?
No.
He's going as the superhero Greg.
You're like Captain America. Like you're tall. You could totally do the Captain America thing.
All right, I'll work on that.
Okay.
He's going superhero Greg O'Brien for sure. E on the front of it, big O. That's what you got.
Yeah, just a big O.
Big O right on the front. Well, that's awesome. So do you do anything else outside of Fort Mifflin? Paranormal, like have a team, or do you do any kind of other investigations?
I don't have a team anymore. I was in a couple teams. I do get out to try and investigate some other places.
Hard to beat your place.
Yeah, it's hard to beat the place. Like I say, I get invited a lot of places, and I'm either busy at the fort or I just can't get out. So I've been trying to get some new places.
Have you been to the Hoover House?
I haven't gotten out to the Hoover House yet. I got to get out to the Hoover House because like I say, it's just been with things going on, it's been busy. And then Katrina and Teddy have Katrina Wyman and Teddy. They have their Travel to Dead YouTube. Katrina from Portalsdale and everything.
Yeah.
So I've been working on getting them locations.
Good deal.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, you should come out to the Hoover House sometime. I know.
I gotta.
We'll all be there on Memorial Day weekend. I don't know if you have anything going on.
Yeah, he said it.
Renaissance Fair. Fair.
That's right. That's right. That's what we just talked about that earlier. Yes.
Yeah.
I gotta decide. No, I'll probably go to the Hoover House, but
yeah, I'll hang with the wenches.
It's tempting. I might, by the end of May, though, I might be Renaissance Fairy Festival out because my whole April and May is filled with fairy festivals and Renaissance stuff. So I might be done with it by then. Tired of dressing in costume.
Well, that is awesome. But
All right.
yeah,
Well, if no one else has any more questions, is there anything else, Greg, you would like to say before we end tonight?
No, just everybody, thank you for having me. And I've seen
thanks
a
for
lot of people
helping us out.
out there. Yes, Trisha will try and get Prism back, Prism Paranormal. They were supposed to be the host group in March that we had to cancel because the ground it was flooded. So we got to get them
I
back
was
out.
actually going to be there with them. I
Yeah,
canceled before they canceled, but yeah.
And
yeah,
I'm
it was
sure that all the paranormal teams that visit, all that money goes to help out as well. So
Yeah, if
yep,
we go there and we pay
donation and,
yep.
that goes to
you know,
the help out the fort, correct? Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean between
Mhm.
the main revenue of the fort right now is paranormal and scouting.
yep.
Okay.
So that's what keeps the place going.
So
All right.
you can't beat that, man, helping them out and getting to
Mhm.
enjoy the paranormal.
And if you
Yep.
want to just rent it out for other stuff, we
Mhm.
people
Like
come
a
out for
wedding. You ever had a wedding there?
weddings. We
Yeah.
have weddings there. People
Mhm.
have weddings there, and so if you have a big event you want to come out, it's a good spot.
What was it last year that you guys had that was wild? Like not different. Was it music?
The
Something?
making time music
That's what it
festival.
was. Yeah. That's
Wow.
Mm.
It's like a big rave party.
yeah,
It's
that's
on
what it was. You
oh,
said, yeah.
oh my God. Yeah, it's coming back again this year. This will be the third year of it. And yeah, they get it goes Friday through Sunday and there's 1,000 people a night.
Have you ever thought about doing a tattoo festival? There? That's
Yeah,
Pennsylvania, right? It's not
right. Yeah,
Jersey. Okay.
we're right outside of Philadelphia. Yeah, well,
Okay.
we're technically in Philadelphia, but we're
I
right
I,
by
I
the
know
airport.
a guy who holds some tattoo and oddities festivals, and he is looking for like haunted locations. So
There you
Hmm.
go.
I will give him your suggestion.
Yeah. Get
Yeah.
out there. Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
they're very popular out there, so
Hmm.
yeah.
I will actually see him in 3 weeks. So
All right.
we'll say something then. Okay. Well, if no one else has anything else, Andy, you have anything else?
I do not.
Thank you
Always
so
a
much,
pleasure
Greg, for filling
coming in
in
and
for
praying.
Wes.
Ah, thank you. Thank you for
I
having me.
missed you. I can't wait to get big hugs from you. I guess Penhurst. I'll see you then.
See you in Penhurst. Yep. I'll
Yes.
probably be out where I was last year in that little courtyard
So
area.
you're
Yeah,
out in the courtyard. I am in Devon
Okay.
again this year. So
where we're at. So
if you don't find me, I will find you.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks
just like
again, and thank everybody that's on our comments. Thanks for supporting our
absolutely
podcast. So, any closing remarks, Andy?
none at all. Just always stay respectful and throw out that love and light. And appreciate the people that threw prayers out as fast as I put it on Facebook, and hopefully that
Mm-hmm.
help out with things. So got a
Yes.
103-year-old grandmother that had some stuff happen that probably could outrun most of us, but you know, so
Yes,
Yeah.
and I need to get to meet her
much
before
her
anything.
down,
So,
but you know,
yeah,
so
we're gonna have to figure out something. So I might have
that's
to
it.
come down during the week. Um, but thank you all, and please remember, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. Fill your cup first. Self-care. Take care of yourself before you give to others. Have a wonderful night. Happy solstice. Why was I going to say solstice? Happy eclipse day.
That's right. Still here. So go
Until next
on.
time. See you later.